Hello guys, welcome back to TFD. Don't forget to like and subscribe, keep the bell on. Caitlin Clark was the last player on the floor after practice today, working on some defender on hip ball handling with Stephanie White and some assistants. Fever rule out Caitlin Clark for Fever Aces tomorrow with groin injury. Head coach Stephanie White. My goal has always been the same. I don't want this to be something that lingers. We want to make sure that she is 100% ready to go. Even though Caitlin won't suit up against the Aces, her commitment is crystal clear. She's still putting in the work, still showing that fire, and the Fever are making the smart move to protect their star. When she does return, she'll be ready, and you better believe she'll come back even stronger. Another story making waves. And it looks like the WNBA media is out here making big-time excuses for the Minnesota Lynx dropping what might be the biggest goose egg in Commissioner's Cup history. Let's be real. Now they're out here trying to spin it, defend Napheesa Collier, Cheryl, Reeve, and the entire squad for that brutal loss. Meanwhile, the Indiana Fever, they already moved on. They got the dub, they got the bag, and they're already focused on Vegas. But now the narrative is shifting. Suddenly, the Fever were too physical? Seriously? Now it's the ref's fault? Now the Lynx couldn't handle the contact? Come on. When the Fever are the ones taking hits, no one says a word. But when Indiana flips the script, now it's a problem. They're saying Aaliyah Boston was too aggressive, Natasha Howard was too tough. But here's the truth. Stephanie White had a game plan, and it worked. She gave the Lynx a taste of their own medicine, and they couldn't handle it. That physicality? That's the same style that's been thrown at Indiana all season. And now that they responded with the same fire, the media wants to cry foul? Nah. Watch the footage, listen to the narrative being pushed. It's clear some folks can't handle the fact that the Fever are learning, growing, and fighting back. The only time I've ever really seen Aaliyah Boston get a little bit chippy, let's say, is when she's matched up with Brittany Griner. I've seen in multiple games, even last season. I don't know if it's that Brittany Griner just gets under her skin or if there's some real tension there. But for whatever reason, Aaliyah always brings a little extra fire when she's playing Griner. But this time, it wasn't Brittany. It was Napheesa Collier. And this moment right here, late in the second half against the Minnesota Lynx in the Commissioner's Cup, really stood out. Now, for a lot of players, something like this wouldn't even be a conversation. But with Aaliyah Boston, it's different because we know her game. She's known for her poise, her footwork, her composure in the post. Not really for this kind of physical flare-up. Let's take a look at the play. So, first, there's the contact. I'm going to back it up and play it again because there are actually two things happening here. Initially, it looks like Aaliyah initiates the contact and the foul gets called on Napheesa Collier. But if you look closely, and hey, I always try to be fair, I honestly think this could have been called an offensive foul on Aaliyah Boston. Now, basketball is a physical sport. There's a fine line between physicality and a foul, and it all depends on the refs and how they interpret the moment. But in this case, I felt like Aaliyah made the more aggressive move. Napheesa was already set, and Aaliyah just kind of cleared her out of the way. And yet, the foul is called on Collier. Then comes the aftermath, and that's the part one really want to highlight. Because you can clearly see Napheesa saying something. And Aaliyah? She's not having it. She turns around, gets in her face, and is jawing right back. You can tell she's saying, no, no, no. I'm not taking anything from you. I'm pretty sure I even caught a little BS in there too. That's Aaliyah Boston, folks. We don't always see this side of her, but it's there. And honestly, I like this fire from her. She's got the footwork, she's got the finesse, but when she mixes in this kind of edge, that's a whole different threat. That's the kind of toughness I also want to see when it comes to defending teammates like Caitlin Clark. This moment right here is the exact kind of response we need when someone's stepping out of line. Now, we don't know what else happened during the game. Maybe there was trash talk, maybe tension had been building. But when you consider how poorly Napheesa was playing, how the Lynx blew a huge early lead at home in the Commissioner's Cup, it all adds up. High pressure, high emotions, and Aaliyah Boston wasn't about to be pushed around.
With that news, Indiana Fever became a complete underdog, and I think everybody was counting them out. I put a poll, a very low stakes, a poll on my Instagram stories where I'm like, hey guys, this is what's happening. Who's gonna win? 95% of the people chose the Lynx, and I think we were all thinking that. And at the beginning of the game, that's what I kind of started off by saying. It looked like that. That was the runner-up last season Lynx, the defense. How many shot clock violations did the Fever have? It was, Napheesa Collier was getting her jumper. She had the touch, the turnaround shot. And then the worst thing happened was the first quarter ended for the Minnesota Lynx. That was the worst thing, for that buzzer to sound. The second quarter was a completely different story. They went on an 18-0. If you count after halftime, coming back in, it was 20-0 run by the Fever. And the Lynx did not score for almost 8 minutes of that second quarter. That can't happen. That is crazy. And to me, and I wonder if you agree with this, because it's not necessarily that, I think their offensive flow for the Lynx side was a little, I think Courtney Williams was over dribbling sometimes. They weren't as crisp with their passes that they usually are. But I think Fee got really frustrated by the refs. I think the physicality by Aaliyah Boston, by Natasha Howard, really started getting in her head.
Now, this is when their conversation take a turn for the left, because now they're finna go on record and pretty much say that, the Indiana Fever was too physical. The referees wasn't calling things right. And ultimately, this is what caused the Minnesota Lynx to look the way that they looked. This is what's caused Napheesa Collier to not perform the way we all know that she can. But it's just quite essentially the element of surprise that was really taken back with the game plan that Stephanie White laid out for this team. And she basically outcoached their coach, bro. Cheryl Reeve was outcoached, I think, bro.
And she couldn't move past it. And I think that's when I saw just something kind of not really connect with Fee, and that messed up her touch. She wasn't able to hit baskets. She finished with only 12 points. That's not like her. But I feel like it was a little bit of that physicality and a little bit of the refs that she was battling. What do you think?
1000%. And this was very uncharacteristic for the Lynx and for Fee. Like, we know Fee to play through anything and play with so much poise and composure, but I thought Aaliyah Boston, Natasha Howard, even Michaela Timpson for spurts in the moment had some really good minutes on her, trying to be physical as possible with Fee, because that's what you have to do. You have to make your presence felt. You have to limit her touch as much as you can. You can't stop her. You just try to pray and neutralize her, but you make things tough, and that's what they did. They were super physical, and you try to get in players' heads like that in that manner to take them out of their game, out of their swing. Only 6 points in the first half for Fee. Again, uncharacteristic. Even from the three ball, like, everyone is a three-point shooter on this team. Only 25% from the arc. The ball movement wasn't as sharp as, we're used to seeing. The pick and roll action kind of died down. It was cold shooting. And a lot of these shots, I would definitely give credit to the Indiana Fever's defense, but a lot of their shots that the Minnesota Lynx took, like, these are their shots. Any other day, they're falling. It seemed like a lid was on the basket at one point, but credit, I want to give all credit to Indiana's defense. I thought this was probably the best defensive performance we've seen from them this season. But that's credit to Natasha Howard trying to make things as tough as possible. Like, yes, she had 16.
Now they're finally giving credit to the Fever's defense, because honestly, you can't just make excuses and ignore what actually happened out there. The Fever didn't just sneak by the Minnesota Lynx. They straight up outplayed them, outcoached them, and shocked them with that physical edge. That's how they won. Period. Minnesota got caught off guard. The Fever brought that element of surprise, and it worked. They didn't just show up, they took control. And that deserves some real respect. That clip came from the Women's Hoop Show. You can check them out on YouTube. It's from their latest episode, which dropped yesterday. Definitely worth watching if you haven't already. Now on the Caitlin Clark front. Yeah, she's officially out for today's game against the Las Vegas Aces. That news broke yesterday, and as of now, there's no clear timeline on her return. I've said it before, and I still believe it. She'll probably be back right before or just after the All-Star break. But hey, drop your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think Indiana can keep winning without her? And how do you feel about the media finally giving this team the credit they've earned?